Okay, good evening. Broadcasting live September 24th. And I want to apologize. This morning, I came on to try to have an interview with a meditator, and we found out that the default server for this neat direct video thing without any software or plugins, the server was insufficient because it's a test server that they were running for us. So this morning, I'm no idea what I'm doing, but following what limited instructions there are, I think I managed to set up a node.js server, and I don't really know what that means, but it's up. And we sort of got it to work, but I missed appointments today, so I apologize for that. These appointments to me are really important because this is the core of what we're doing. This is really intensive. This is where real benefit comes from one-on-one instruction. So I'm really promoting these. This is better than listening to talks, watching YouTube videos. That's all great, but having one-on-one instruction takes it to the next level. It's easy for all of us. It's not like it's a difficult thing to do, and it's a huge step in terms of encouragement and the level of dedication to the practice. So I do want to, please don't be discouraged for those of you who haven't been able to get it to work. Please try to have a webcam and a microphone and headphones. Try to not use speakers if possible. So we should all be wearing something just because it echoes otherwise. It's not a perfect system. You need a fairly good bandwidth. I'll try to figure out, I think now that we've got our own server, we can work on reducing the requirements, reducing the bandwidth, the amount of data that is sent somehow. And you have to be meditating. So it's not just, hey, I want to talk to the monk, so I'll sign up. Please don't do that because you're taking space and I can't verify without putting like some kind of requirement for, I'd like to check how much meditation you've been doing on our website. I can't quite tell. I mean, right now it doesn't check, so it's an honor system. But if you haven't been meditating, this isn't for you. This is for people who are doing at least an hour a day, I would say. Hopefully 2 hours a day, if you have the time. More if you have the time, for sure. There's some of the people I've talked to so far, I'm doing some days 7-8 hours a day, which is just awesome. But the other problem with it, I suppose, is there are a limited number of slots and we're fairly full. Oh, someone pulled out. Sven, I think. Did he move or just pull out? Oh no, he moved to Saturday. Wasn't Saturday already taken? Something's changed. Anyway, we're filling up. There's still a couple of morning slots and a couple of afternoon slots. I don't know why things have become available. Somewhat strange. Anyway, that's that. Today, nothing to report today. Oh, we had a visitor today. And we have 2 meditators here. It just made me think that people are actually coming. Some people have come in the evening to practice. I think coming sort of thinking there's going to be more, like maybe I would guide them through a meditation, but it's not really like that. If you come here, well, you come here and you meditate and I meditate and that's it. If you come here and you want to talk, that's fine, but it's not so much about the talking as about the doing. And the biggest occupation should be the meditation. It shouldn't be listening to talks, watching YouTube videos, chatting with a teacher. The biggest activity should be, being mindful, being secluded. I like this new definition of seclusion: secluding, isolating the moment, becoming secluded in the present moment. So your mind is uh, is exclusively in the present moment, being alone in the sense of having only the present moment, not any other moment, not more than one moment in your attention, only now and only here. So not just time wise, but space wise. So today we have a quote. It's actually a story. Maybe I'll just talk about the story. It's a story about monkeys and human. No, it's a story about monkeys. So there are these monkeys who get stuck in traps. In the West, we have the story of Brer Rabbit. You ever heard the story of Brer Rabbit, Robin?
Yes.
And they make the tar buddy or something like that. What's it called? Tar baby. And so they make this figure like a snowman, but they make it out of tar. And Brer Rabbit's kind of this snarky rabbit, and the wolves make this tar baby, and Brer Rabbit comes up to the tar baby and starts talking to it, and the tar baby doesn't answer, so he punches it, and when he punches it, his hand gets stuck, and then in trying to free his hand, he uses his other hand and gets that stuck. Eventually, he gets completely stuck, and then he's at the mercy of the wolves, something like that. So this is a monkey. They do this to mice these days. You know, they have these glue pads that you put out. It's incredibly cruel. Probably, I think, undoubtedly more so than a mousetrap, which is relatively humane as far as murder goes. Comparatively humane, because they have these glue traps where you just put a little square of glue on the floor somewhere where the mice go, and when they walk on it, their paw gets stuck, and then their other paw gets stuck, and then they try to get themselves off, and then their nose gets stuck, and then they suffocate, or I don't know what happens next. I guess they just starve to death. They get stuck there, and then I had a friend once whose roommate tried to get him to get rid of it, and he was a practicing meditator, so he was trying to free it from this glue trap, and he couldn't find a way to free it, and it was just awful. Yeah. So that's the story here, and the Buddha uses this as an analogy to roaming in the domain of another. But there's a broader context to really understand what the Buddha is talking here. There's a better story, actually. I'm not. This isn't the one that is most familiar to me. I know this story, but the more common story that we hear is the story of this quail. And the story of the quail is, I mean, I guess this story is about traps. So there is a trap set, and if you go outside of your zone, you go outside of where you should be, right? So you have these monkeys that live in the forest, and when they live in the forest, they're fine. But when they go into the farmers' fields to get crops, the farmers will shoot them and kill them, and will trap them in this way. It's a big thing in countries where monkeys live, because, well, farmers are stingy and jealous and want to keep all the food for themselves and not share with their less fortunate cousins, the monkeys. Monkeys are kind of neat. They're like almost humans. And I think that's a fair label, because they don't really have the intelligence of humans, but they have some intelligence, and they'll sit there and look at you, and if you come close, like, They'll bare their teeth at you. But you can get them friendly enough so that they'll take bananas from you. You can get them really, really comfortable with you over time so that they'll take it from your hand, and even so that they'll climb all over you trying to get at whatever you have. But then they can get dangerous because they're not very moral, and they'll bite you, and they have rabies, and they'll steal everything from your, if they can get into, if they figure out that you're completely harmless. If they somehow come to realize, hey, these Buddhist monks are not going to hurt us, they'll steal your robes. Another thing I've heard is that if you're mean to them, they'll be mean back. Like there was a monk who was really always chasing the monkeys away with a stick and throwing things at them and so on. And so they stole his robe and they brought it way up to the top of the tree once. So maybe a little bit smarter than we give them credit for. Interesting group of interesting animals. But okay, so the idea is to stay within your realm. So there's this quail and this bird, sort of one of these fat birds that hunters like to hunt, and birds of prey like to prey upon. And so this bird once decided, oh, maybe I'll go outside. So its land was hilly, and it could hide behind these hills and duck into holes and so on, behind rocks and that kind of thing. But then it went out onto the plains thinking, oh, there'll be better food out there. But when it got onto the plains, an eagle swooped down and caught it. And when the eagle swooped down, it lamented that, oh, if only I had stayed in my domain, stayed within my homeland, where there's all these rocks and crags and so on. There's no way this eagle could have caught me. And the eagle heard it. I mean, so this is kind of a legend, right? The eagle heard it and said, what are you talking about? I could catch you anywhere. And the quail says, no, you couldn't. There's no way. And so the eagle brought him back to his land and dropped the quail, and then flew back up and said, I'm going to get you now. And it dove down to get the quail, and then the quail ducked behind a rock, and the eagle smashed its beak on the rock. And the Buddha says, in the same way, O monks, if you stray into the more what do you call opulent, right, the more pleasurable realms, the realms where sense gratification, if you stray into them and you dwell in them, then Mara will catch you. You'll be caught up with evil. Mara is evil. So what does it mean, evil? It means, well, you'll get caught up in suffering. You'll have dissatisfaction when you don't get what you want. You'll have anger when people challenge what you want, challenge your pleasure. You'll have evil wishes in the sense that you'll want to do things that cause suffering for others in order to make yourself happy, and you'll want to do things that cause yourself suffering, thinking that it's somehow going to make you happy. This kind of thing. And so he said, stay within your domain. And the awesome thing about this, from our point of view, is sort of the validation of our practice. Because what does he say is your domain? The 4 foundations of mindfulness. This is our domain. And there's no better, I mean, you can't get better or more clear than that. The Buddha is giving a clear injunction as to what is our realm. Stay within the 4 satipatthana. That is our realm. Anyone who doubts the importance of the satipatthana or the central role that they have to play in our practice. So what does that mean? It's like this talk about isolation, when you isolate the present moment and you're not going to the past or the future. But on a more precise level, or more precisely, it means staying in reality. The 4 satipatthana are our domain because they describe in one way reality, and in a practical way. They give us a practical means of dwelling rooted in reality. Like the Buddha said, like grass, if it has roots in the ground, it stays green. But when you cut the grass and it's separated from its roots, it wilts, it withers. And he said, in the same way, When your mind is not rooted in reality, rooted in the present moment, here and now, what is real. So in the past or in the future, it withers up and dies, like this kind of grass, like grass that's been cut. So the Satipatthana are what keep us grounded in reality, and it's because it's so simple. You see, you lose all the complexity and abstract thought. The whole idea of even the world around us, you know, even the next room or downstairs or upstairs. These ideas require mental thought. I mean, how much computational power does it require just to think about something that you're not experiencing? Compare that to the very minor, simple, basic requirement to experience, right? When seeing is just seeing and hearing is just hearing. You think in terms of computational power, right? Or think in terms of computers. Our brain, how little effort is needed to know something. This is this. So people think, oh, it's such a chore to have to say rising, falling, or stepping right, stepping left, or seeing or hearing. It's ridiculous, really. I mean, we put so much computational power into thinking, this is good, this is bad, this is me, this is mine. How can I get it? How can I keep it? How can I chase it away? How can I prevent it? Back and forth constantly, and interpreting things and examining them and investigating them. It's quite tiresome, as opposed to just seeing that. What is it? Seeing, hearing. A thought that is absolutely the simplest thought you can have about something is, it is what it is. So that's why it's invincible. It's this idea of being free. You can't be trapped. The meaning is you can't suffer. You are invincible. Any pain or suffering or any enticement that might come from the world loses its power, has no power over you. Any trick, any delusion, illusion can't trick you because you see it for what it is. You see it simply or objective, and there's no opportunity for delusion or confusion or attachment or aversion. So it's an awesome idea that the Buddha says at the end here. What is your domain, your natural territory? It is the four foundations of mindfulness. Gojira. Gojira means pasture. Gojira is as go is a cow, and jara is a place where someone goes, or the going, or the faring, or the sort of the area in which one acts or one lives. So Gojira means the place of a cow, really. But the word has evolved to mean pasture, to mean one's realm or domain. But the Buddha talked about Gojira and Agojira. Agojira means that which is outside the pasture, right? So the cows had to be kept in a pen. So in the beginning, it simply referred to the place where the cows are kept, as opposed to where you don't let the cows wander. And so the idiomatic meaning, as the language evolved, was what is proper, you know, where you should be and where you shouldn't be. And so agochara is like a brothel, a place that is, you know, outside of where you should be, a brothel or a bar or a gambling, a casino, that kind of thing. These are all considered agochara. And for monks, there are a lot more agochara. You shouldn't be, if you're a male monk, you shouldn't be in closest association with female monks, for example, or widows, unmarried women, that kind of thing. I mean, just not get too close. Bars and that kind of thing, these are agochara. So, do we have any questions today?
We do. Is it better to note the effects of being tired, like drooping eyelids and feelings in the body, or just tired, tired, tired?
Tired is more important, but you can note the others as just feeling. I wouldn't try to get too specific. But if you have a feeling associated with the tiredness, like a heaviness or a stiffness or so on, you can note feeling.
And Joshua, who asked, that must have been very tired because a minute after that he signed off and said good night. So it happens.
Maybe
It,
they're in what country are they in?
Joshua's
Canada.
in Canada. Yeah, I
Oh
think
yeah, he came.
he's the person who came to your celebration.
Right.
Um, Regarding the meetings, the online meditation meetings, if a person doesn't have a camera, is it okay to sign up without one?
I'd prefer if you have a camera. I mean, we're stretching it already by not meeting in person, but it's much easier to get a sense of where you're at if I can see you when we talk. Like just having a voice, it's possible, but it's harder to really get a sense of who you are and where you're at and the meaning behind the things you say. If you can see the person, you can really get a sense of what they're saying and how they're feeling and their condition. Of course,
Has
being
any
in person is better.
Sorry, I was just going to ask, has anyone signed on with a phone to those type of meetings yet?
I'm pretty sure that in Android, both Chrome and Firefox will work.
On a
I
phone, because
haven't
the phone,
tested it, but I'm pretty sure they will work.
yeah, and a phone would typically have
The camera.
the camera on it, so that might be a way of not having to actually go out and purchase a webcam.
I mean, I don't think a simple. How much is a simple webcam? I mean, I guess for some people,
Yeah, I think the simple ones are as low as $20 or so.
yeah. I mean, if
Yeah,
$20 isn't a big deal, I would recommend it because
yeah,
it helps us out.
yeah. Simple webcam about 20, and simple headset about 20 as well. I'm not quite understanding how the four foundations are used during meditation. The moment attention moves away to a thought or feeling.
Mhm. Well, when meditation goes to a thought, you will say thinking. When it goes to a feeling, you'll say feeling. Have you read my booklet? I mean, it's not that complicated, I hope. A sutta study on the Satipatthana, it's really that difficult? I thought it was pretty self-explanatory.
Maybe an example of each would help.
I mean, is there something lacking in the booklet? Because that's important to address.
I understood, but
I know people have said they have to read it a couple of times before they realize, oh, he really means we should say feeling, thinking. Because
yeah,
the first time you're not expecting that, so you're just reading it and taking in the information passively. And the second time around, you say, oh, wait, I'm supposed to actually be doing this.
yeah. I've read the booklet several times. And each time I find stuff that I didn't notice the first few times.
Well, that's good to hear. Another very long list of meditators. So, and a good
Yeah,
number of logged in people. 37 viewers on YouTube. I mean, for a daily stream, this is pretty awesome. And
it
just the
is.
ability to do this every day, right? And I think one complaint people will have is like, I don't want to watch a 1 hour video or for only half an hour today, but I
Yeah,
would like to keep them shorter, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, I think some people would be like, we want shorter videos that are more meaty, right? Like a lot of this is a bit relaxed, slow going, and people don't have the time to spend an hour.
If the first part is, more focused on the Dhamma quote and the stories, the story and the Dhamma talk, and the second part is just more relaxed because, the other part is we're building a community here, and people are joining all the time, and finding out what you're doing, where you're located, how to be a part of that community. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's nice. So it's nice to have this live every day for sure. That's the best
yeah,
part of it.
yeah.
You're building a community.
So people can probably tell when it starts to get a little more relaxed and sign off at that time until the next Dhamma talk if they're pressed for time. So Mahdi tried using his Android and can see the feed but can't see others. So he must be in the general lounge.
All I see is black boxes where their feeds should be. Well, I mean, is that since today? Because today everything's changed. It might work better today. The black boxes thing, I think, was an issue for not just Android, but also computers.
Yeah, I was seeing the black boxes yesterday on PC.
But we can try again tonight. We can go back to the general room. Because
Yeah.
the thing is, the two people today were wondering why they couldn't see each other. If you have an appointment booked, you get a special room code that's custom tailored to your username and time. It's created based on specific to your time and username, so no one else knows it. It comes to me and it comes to the user. It comes to me because I'm an administrator and because I need the link. But only we get that special code. That puts us in a special room. So every person will have a different code, and every slot for every person. So if you change slots, you'll have a new code. It's just a way of keeping people from getting into the wrong rooms. Um, but if you go to the general room, there's a link to, I think I've changed the text. I don't know what it says now. It says, click here to enter the public meeting room, not for one-on-one sessions. That puts you in a meeting called general, I think. And there, everyone can go in. So there you will see each other. But if you go into your specific room that was created for you, which will only appear during the time of your appointment, it appears in a yellow box. That puts you in a room where only I can enter, and only me and you can enter.
So that sounds like once it's working properly, is it very low maintenance on your end? You don't have to set up things. Or do you?
No, I don't set up anything. The link shows up for me, shows up for you. We both click on the link, and the magic occurs.
So that's great because the other suggestion was to do Hangouts or Skype, but it sounds like the the other is very low maintenance, no setup, just
I mean, with Skype,
like an
you need to invite each other. There's more of
yeah.
a communication that has to go on, and then they're using third-party software. I mean, Skype is, I think, pretty simple and easy to use. Somehow I'd rather use something less, um, with less requirements
Yeah.
if this works.
Yeah, definitely getting that worked out would be awesome because we've got, some other potential uses for it too with our volunteer meetings and
Mhm.
classes and different things if it worked out that way.
Yeah, well, maybe after the broadcast now we can try going back into the room.
Yes.
Everyone put on their headsets and
Sounds good. We have more questions now. I go to college in America. How can I be mindful during class?
you should read my booklet on how to meditate if you haven't already. If you have, then you just apply. And the sixth chapter in the book tries to address this, how to be mindful during daily life. So you apply those principles of watching the movements of the body, your emotions, senses, seeing, hearing, and so on. But basically, you apply the same techniques that you've been training yourself in formal meditation. You apply them to your daily life.
Monday, sometimes my thoughts and feelings move so quickly, and though I do realize and try to know all of them, I am lagging to the point where I become overwhelmed in the attempt to note these things as they quickly pass along.
Yeah, you don't have to note everything. Oh, is there more?
There is, yeah. I'm not too sure if I'm hyper aware but slow or simply overthinking and overcomplicating the process.
Your Mahasi Sayadaw at one point. Oh, is there more?
There
Sorry.
is, yeah. Do you have any suggestions? I am obsessive compulsive.
Uh-huh. Um,
Actually, there's more. The anticipation of anxiety and the judgment therein seems to immobilize progress. This is during meditation, of course.
yeah, you don't have to note everything. And I mean, that's part of what meditation is designed to do, to help you overcome your obsessive compulsive tendencies. So it's about acknowledging those tendencies, noting them. And if you're overwhelmed, and the common thing is to say overwhelmed, overwhelmed. Just acknowledge that feeling. You can just say feeling, feeling, knowing, knowing, knowing that you're overwhelmed. It's just, the point is to stop it at the knowing so it doesn't go to the next step.
So you're not trying to keep up with everything like things coming down a conveyor belt and trying to, you know,
No, no, it's
grab
not
every
that.
single one.
It's not like one of those carnival games where if you hit all the ducks in the row, you get a prize. It's not like that. You miss something that, it's gone already. Forget about it. Stay now, here in the present. And it's more like maintaining a sort of a clarity of mind. So Mahasi Sayadaw said, like, noting once a second is good. That's awesome already. But any more than that, then it starts to get too complicated. It becomes a burden rather than a tool.
How do I know if I'm meditating correctly?
You'll be in the present moment. You will feel clarity of mind. When you really get it and you really are able to do it, and for that one moment, I mean, I guess in some sense, in that one moment, nothing will happen, and that's the point. Like, all of what happens will stop. In that one moment, you'll just know something. And then if you do it again, you'll just know something. If you do it several times, you'll start to see things. You'll start to notice when you're not doing it, and the difference. You'll be able to compare when you're mindful with when you're not mindful. How when you're not mindful, your mind is polluted and heavy, burdened by defilement. And when you are doing it, your mind is pure and clear, just aware and alert. It's at peace. It takes time, to get this, but not that much time. You'll start to see all of the faults in your mind, and you'll see them objectively, and you'll just start discarding them, start changing them, changing your habit. In a general sense, if you want to be a little more precise, it's the overcoming of greed, anger, and delusion. So if you have less of these, then you know you're practicing correctly. But that's more over the long term.
Regarding the meetings, is there an option for meeting in the Android app?
No, the app doesn't have it yet. So if I ever get around to it, it's not that difficult to put it in, but it's just a matter of time.
But a person could potentially sign in through
Well,
the web
go,
browser
go
of
to
their
the
phone,
web
right?
browser on your
Yeah,
phone.
yeah,
That's what
just
I'm
not an
doing
app.
right now. Because I have to check. I have to actually, this morning someone signed up and I didn't know it. So I checked, oh, someone's new has signed up. Because I don't have any notification thing set up whereby I would know.
So you might be doing your meeting down at Tim Hortons there.
I just have to know. I mean, I'm just going to make sure I check before 7. But another thing is, it's hard for me to get it in it's hard for me to set up a schedule like this, even school schedule. I find myself, oh yeah, I've got class today. you know, it's hard to get back on a schedule, especially with so many things going on. And then now I've added in a slot every day, 2 slots every day. So sometimes during those times I would be reading or, talking to someone. So now I have to keep in mind those slots, which is going to take some adjustment. So if I miss an appointment, I think it may happen. You'll have to forgive me.
Yeah, lots of changes to the schedule these last few weeks. The first chapters, oh, I'm sorry, that's not a question. Which is saying the first chapters of the second book are great.
Well, thank you. It's Tim, no?
That is Tim, yes.
Thanks, Tim.
Could you talk about your experience of remaining mindful during traveling, specifically at airports where there's lots of noise, movement, people staring at you, etc.?
I find the hardest thing in airports is the dizziness. It's kind of dizzying, and I think big expanses make you dizzy. So you can note the dizzying, but apart from that, airports are pretty easy. Walking, sitting, hearing. It's not like it's a carnival where there's, I guess, the whole thing about being in public is keep your eyes down. Don't look around. Don't look at the shops with all their awesome things in them, and the gadgets and things that you don't need, enticing you to buy things. Or note those, more importantly.
Once you get on the plane, that seems to be a really good time to meditate.
Yeah,
Not much else to
especially
do.
because you're forced. And
Hmm.
being forced to do something is a really good way to help you let go. This is why listening to Dhamma talks, when you're live Dhamma talks and you're sitting in the crowd, because you can't just get up or move or turn it off or something, you're stuck. And when you're stuck, it's either go crazy or let go. And in the end, you have to let go, even when there's pain and so on. Like in Thailand, you can't even stretch your legs during a talk. And so there's a real formal structure to it. You keep your legs bent all the time, and that's quite painful if you're not used to it.
Bhante, would you have any objections to people coming from overseas to help with the monastery indefinitely? Would this be a complicated matter with lodging, etc.?
At this point, it kind of would be. I mean, we don't want to specify who can come and should come, but it might be advantageous to allow people to come on the short term as opposed to long term, because then it's one person benefits as opposed to many people benefiting. And the benefit probably is less when you're here over the long term, unless you're intent on doing course after course after course. But if you're here to help, well, we don't really need the help, and we can't really have lots of helpers living here. I think one is already more than we can handle. Actually, the best would be if I was able to be here alone. I think that would be the best, because I don't really need. It's nice to have Aruna here, but I don't really need him. And I think in the long run, we've only got a couple of rooms really, and it's nice to have those rooms for meditators. So yeah, we're not really in the position yet. But I was thinking, maybe soon, maybe within a year or two, we'll just have so much support that we'll decide, let's get a big house. Maybe. Not, I mean, rent. We could rent a big house. There are quite a few big houses around the university because they rent them out to students. And not only are they big houses, but they're separated. They've built them to be lots of rooms because they want to be able to pack 10 students into a house. We could rent one of those. And I still think renting's best because there's no commitment. And if the support ever dips or so on, we just say, well, we'll leave, we'll stop it. Then there's no push and stress to try and please donate, help us. Hey, everyone, why aren't you donating? So I don't want to get to that. Or charging money for courses. Perish the thought. But yeah, maybe that will happen. Then we'd have a real monastery. Like at this point, it's a one or two monk monastery, really.
It's a starter monastery.
Starter. This is our starter monastery.
Yes. But I'm sure anyone would be welcome to come and do a course as opposed to staying forever, right?
Staying longer than a month, though, we may have to say no, because we don't really have the room, and there's lots of people who do want to come and stay and do courses. I mean, people can sleep 4 or 5 people in the basement, but we've only got 2 washrooms in the house, only 1 shower.
So it's a little early on for a permanent steward.
I think so, yeah.
Leah's looking forward to new Dhammapada videos.
Who's gonna make those, I wonder? Dhammapada videos. Yeah, I know, I'm still thinking about them. But just seems like I say, oh, well, it was just a busy week. But, well, it's pretty busy.
Bhante, do you have any suggestions for being mindful during work? I feel like when I start noting what I feel, what I'm feeling, I get distracted by mindfulness. I can't concentrate on my work. Perhaps if I am involved in my work, it is being mindful itself.
Well, you're being mindful of your work, you could say. Mindfulness, the word sati is just like what your focus is on. So the sati that we're looking for is focusing on the essence of reality. And you're right to say that that's probably going to get in the way of you doing your work, because doing your work is probably a different activity, unless it's purely physical labor, in which case mindfulness is pretty easy to incorporate, which is a good argument in favor of having a job that is mindlessly physical. Mindless labor is just awesome for a meditator, right? It's the last job anyone wants is probably the best job for a meditator, where you're doing like farming, maybe, although farming is other issues, but like tree planting was just great in that sense, because it's just repetitive, mindless work. Factory work is probably, I don't know what factory work is like. It's probably horrible, but to some extent great, because it's repetitive. If you get the kind of work that doesn't make you think, that doesn't challenge you, it's the opposite of what we're told. Find something that you're passionate about, that challenges you, that makes you think, and so on. I don't think so. Don't think that's the best for a meditator. But so you have the job that you have. Doesn't, not to despair, but you have to understand that working isn't all mindfulness. You can't be perfectly mindful in most jobs. You have to think. You have to apply your mind, focus your mind on concepts, which immediately takes you out of the practice of insight.
Do you feel it's feasible to be, doing detail-oriented work where you really have to have your mind on that, but also noting emotions, feelings, or posture, or simple things?
Sure, but it's back and forth. It's not constant. It can never get. I mean, you can still become enlightened. It's just going to be a lot slower. You're still learning, and you're avoiding the bad emotions. But there's going to be still. It's hard to get rid of delusion. Pretty tough to get, past sotapanna level. To become an anagami or an arahant would probably be difficult, if not impossible.
Ryan's asking if anyone's actually done a meeting through their phone cameras yet. Do you know if the Wi-Fi would be fast enough to stream video? So,
Oh, Wi-Fi shouldn't be a problem unless you've got really slow Wi-Fi. But it's a question of your internet bandwidth. It's not the Wi-Fi is usually Wi-Fi is much faster than internet bandwidth, unless you got super blazing fast internet. But it looks like the video is taking about 200 kilobytes per second both ways, which is high. So we could go lower, but standard internet packages are usually sufficient for that. It doesn't have anything to do with being on the phone or being on your computer for the most part, I would think. Anyway, I can try on my phone, check that out. Our internet here is pretty good. Is that all the questions? So maybe a couple more.
yeah, there was a question there, and it seemed to, okay. It actually was a question asked 10 minutes ago, but you just answered it a couple of minutes ago. If I'm working a job that requires lots of thinking, is that bad? Should I change to a job that requires less thinking?
I mean, I'm giving an argument for it. You could probably find an argument against it. You know, a lot of people believe that it should be something that's meaningful. You know, your work should be dharmic. I kind of contest that because dhamma isn't something you should be making money off of. So some people want to find a way to make livelihood through the dhamma. It can be a bit of a conflict of interest, right? Trying to benefit from teaching. See, monks kind of do that in the sense that it's understood that we are providing a benefit to lay people and lay people are providing a benefit to us because we are dedicated to being able to teach, and in return people feed us. But it's not direct, you know, it's not charging for, you see, and that's where you really run into conflict of interest. Are you teaching the Dhamma because you want to help the person, or are you teaching them because you want their money? And the difficulty you'll have is in separating those two. When there's an expectation of money, it pollutes the intention to give, and therefore colors the teaching, I would say. I mean, I've seen this where it really colors the teaching, and there's hints and encouragement to donate, to give money. You know, while someone's in a meditation course, to talk to them about donation, I mean, I hear about people who will be getting into the later stages of their course where they're going into solitary confinement and they're like intently into it. And then suddenly, in the middle of this, they'll be asked to donate, you know, oh, we need money for this or that. And at their most vulnerable, really, you approach them. It's quite disconcerting, I would think, for a meditator to be approached like that. Anyway, don't mean to gossip or talk about people, but this kind of thing happens. So,
But it's an interesting idea that a simple job is better for your meditation practice.
sorry, I got a bit off track there, but um, definitely yes. For your own practice, physical labor, simple tasks, something that just requires you to work.
Maybe not try to get promoted, you know, the ambition to get promoted or to have a more responsible job, maybe.
Absolutely. Because the question is, what is the money for, and what do you really need it for? So that promotions don't always or usually give you more free time. They just give you
Less free time.
less free time usually and
Yeah.
more money. So that's heading in the wrong direction, right? We want more free time, less money.
Yes. Definitely.
I mean, less possessions, less wealth, less fixation on material comforts. If you've got enough, I mean, if you really have your priorities set straight, it's not true. I mean, it's very difficult to live these days. I hear horror stories. You know, the middle class is eroded, and poverty is rampant, and people are working long hours and still going hungry. You know, or these kind of things. Still having to choose between health insurance and food or something.
And on the other end of that, you know, for people that do get promotions, and I see the executives at our company, you know, now with technology, they work 24 hours a day. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I see people answering work emails at 10, 11 o'clock at night, you know,
Yeah.
on the weekends. There's no time off with the,
Hey, that sounds like me.
yeah. But at least you enjoy your work.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. If you can work totally removed, and that's I think to some extent the appeal of the university life, right? The university tries to do that in terms of you've paid your dues, and now it's just all about studying, right? You do pay your dues, but you're given a chance to just learn, kind of thing. So it's I think the appeal of university, but as a monk, this is the life. This is how why the monk life was designed, was created, how it was set up to provide you with a defensible situation where you can act without having to be concerned about your livelihood. It's defensible because you've given up so much. You've given up luxury and you've given up wealth. You've given up romance. You've given up
Family.
family. And because you take as a default having nothing, so going without food, going without even necessities, if necessary, not expecting even the necessities of life, but only taking them as a gift if they are given out of respect and appreciation. So it's somewhat defensible.
What is the most expedient way to become a lay arahant?
What's the shortcut? Can you teach me how to just become an arahant? I mean, it's not a very fair question, is it?
Well, there's probably
Before,
an answer to that.
sure, I know, but where is this coming from? There's Asian people just shake their head at Westerners and they say, "You aim for the moon. We aim for the moon." One man said this to me, and he was totally off base, but he asked me why I became a monk, and I was getting tired of saying, "Well, I became a monk because I have faith in the Buddha," blah blah blah, and giving some meaningless answer. I said, "I became a monk because I want to attain nibbana," and his eyes bulged, and he said, "Nibbana, nirvana." Oh, human beings can't attain nirvana. You Westerners, you aim for the moon. And I said, well, we did go to the moon. And he said, oh no, that was, and he had an answer for that. He said that was fake. We didn't actually go to the moon. That was all in Hollywood. Anyway, I'm pretty sure they did go to the moon.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Or could, even if they didn't, it's not that, it's not impossible. But there is some validity to that criticism. Why are you concerned about? Here we are in kindergarten. It's like a kindergarten, or I mean, I don't know you. Maybe you're already highly advanced, but for most of us, we're kindergarteners, and we're concerned about getting our PhD. It's really kind of that's what you're talking about here. Start with kindergarten, start with baby steps. And like Ajahn Chah said something like this, where, don't try to become an arahant. Don't try to become anything. It's not about becoming anything. An arahant is a title, it's a label given, but the arahant doesn't go for being an arahant. They're called that by others, by those who know, because they're worthy of respect. But why is it? There's a different meaning. It's because they've cultivated wholesomeness and eradicated unwholesomeness. So that's all we're doing, is aiming for giving those up. I mean, a more honest answer would just be the 4 satipatthana, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. The Buddha said if you practice them for 7 years, you'll become an arahant. Or if there's something getting in your way, some obstruction, at the very least, you'll become an anagami. He said, hey, heck, forget about that. If you practice them sincerely for 7 days, you'll become at least an anagami.
Is being an artist against the precepts?
Not the 5 precepts, maybe the 8 precepts. Probably you could argue it's against the 8 precepts. I mean, that's kind of gray area, even for monks, because there are some things you could like draw a picture of the Buddha. Maybe you could say, well, that's for thinking about the Buddha. But if art is to create beauty, absolutely, beauty is a problem. Beauty goes against the teachings. Because beauty is based on liking something. When you like something, it creates addiction. It might just be a small addiction, but beauty itself is rejected in Buddhism. Sorry. Anyway, and with that, I think I'll quit for tonight.
Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Robin. See you all tomorrow.
Good night.
Oh, tomorrow's Friday. I don't think we haven't forgotten about this, inviting people on here to talk, but we just don't have anyone yet. We have a couple of people lined up for October, so we'll wait and see how that turns out.
And one for, I think, actually November, late November.
We'll see. We'll just keep it on, on the back burner. If we happen to find someone, hey, let's bring this person on, then we'll just bring them on. But we won't try and do it every week. Anyway, see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Good night.